Hello and welcome everybody to the next part of the session on desire fulfillment. Happy to have you again here today, Radhika ji. And as many of you already know, or for those who don't, Radhika ji has been an expert in the field of yoga for many, many years. She has written 2 books, Yoga Sutras Illuminated and Mastering Pranayama, and she has created a very unique program for students all over the world, SRP, Self-Realization Program, where things like desire fulfillment are discussed also in more detail. But today we would like to go into the next area of desire fulfillment.
Sure. Thank you so much. Just wanted to clarify one more thing about the SRP, about the self-realization program. Yes, it is open to people from all over the world, but we are very particular that the students or members of SRP should resonate with our lineage. It is not that anybody can join. There's an application process. And so, in that sense, it is not just an offering for everybody, but it is definitely a program which can help you reorient yourself, provided you're willing to do the hard work. It's not a quick fix or I give you a mantra and you get all your desires fulfilled. That's not the way it works.
That would be indeed too easy. Thanks for clarifying this. So let's dive into the actual desire part. It has become very popular to talk about manifestation of desires. So, what does manifestation actually mean from a yogic point of view? And what is missing, according to your view, in modern teachings on manifestation of desires?
Well, modern life coaches who are talking about desire manifestation are really quite wrong. The popular idea about desire fulfillment or manifestation is that if you keep kind of repeating something mentally, you will get your desire, it'll be fulfilled. That somehow you align with the universe and miraculously you will get what you want. Things like you're going to attract wealth by spending money or, different ideas, but basically very simplified ideas, simplistic, I would say, in fact. And this is almost, an insult to one's intelligence. It is it is too simplistic. And naturally, this attracts those who have experienced a lot of trouble or problems in life, who are maybe frustrated, who have certain desires and are unable to fulfill them. And this creates emotional tension. And then one naturally looks for an easy fix. And if you have somebody coming and telling you that if this mantra, you will be able to heal yourself or heal your child. If you carry a little bit of gold in your wallet, you're going to become rich and you will attract wealth. If you go on expensive holidays, borrow money even and go for holidays, then you will get rich or you will get your inheritance, which somehow was not coming to you. Or you repeat certain affirmations and you will double your income or get your next promotion. These kind of ideas are so seductive. So seductive. I would also love it. I mean, if it were so simple. But that's not how it is. The reality, which has been studied in the Indian traditions, and I must clarify that not only in the Indian traditions, religious traditions, spiritual traditions throughout the world have known this. And it is only that the Indian traditions, with all their lineages and with their scriptures, kind of made an analytical, almost scientific study out of it. which is why it also has techniques and practices which help in the idea of manifestation. But coming back to your original question, why is it that these modern life coaches are wrong? And what is the idea or the concept according to yogic traditions? So, yogic traditions, Sakta traditions, Sri Vidya tradition explains manifestation as a process which is not just in this lifetime, but over many lifetimes. It will lead to your birth, the body you have, the family you're raised in, all these things, the health, your lifespan, all this is manifested from the unknown, from the hidden. And what is hidden? That is hidden, which we call samskaras, in what we call in modern language today the unconscious mind. And this unconscious mind, the technical term, the original term for this was karmasya, samskaras, or even kundalini in the tantric tradition. So when this comes forward, desires are fulfilled because that is what you came to do on this plane of existence. Why are you here? You are here for two reasons. One is to fulfill desires, samskaras, to live these out. Two, to enlighten yourself, to attain liberation, moksha. It is to be seen like a river with two banks. Both are required. We must live out our samskaras, but we must also work towards self realization, self knowledge. And when they both work in tandem, then we are manifesting all these aspects. There is a beautiful diagram which kind of captures the whole process beautifully, and we call it the yogic anatomy of life. I have done many such explanations about various aspects. What is meditation? What is samadhi? What is death? All this explained using this diagram. And it is in my book, The Yoga Sutras Illuminated, explained in great detail, but in a very simple way as well, very readable, I assure you. And you'll find the link down also to the book if you're interested in it. And there are many articles on my website as well with the yogic anatomy of life explained. So if you're interested, take a look. But this is basically the concept of manifestation. The religions of the book, on the other hand, such as Christianity, Judaism, Islam, they all talked about creation. So God created the world in 7 days or whatever. This idea is different from the religions from the East, which are not so much religions as they are philosophies of life. So we don't talk about creation, we talk about manifestation. So when somebody asks, oh, what is your creation story in Hinduism? There is no creation story. There is a manifestation story. And we have manifested here in this form. You have a male body because of certain samskaras. I am born in this body because of certain samskaras. My lifespan, all these things, are related to this manifestation. While the modern life coaches have taken one aspect out of this, and they merely talk about desire, fulfillment, manifestation. And in the process, they do a great deal of harm because those persons who focus only on, for example, manifesting wealth, they forget the duality. That when you focus on becoming wealthy, you also bring up the opposite. And the opposite of wealth is poverty. And when the fear of poverty becomes strong, loss becomes real. So I know somebody who is walking around with a small little gold coin in the wallet and is constantly worried about that she might lose this wallet. And when this is constantly in the mind, the fear and the loss of losing money, that's what manifests, which is why she has very often lost money. Every enterprise, every attempt to earn money has resulted in loss of money and not wealth, because that is what is manifesting all the time. So the ego, or you think you're trying to manifest wealth, but you end up manifesting, in fact, poverty. So this is one of the dangers which I referred to briefly also last part when I said, there are real dangers from that. And one of them is, of course, the fact that you will call up the opposite of what you intend to. And this is the other aspect that modern life coaches completely neglect and omit from their their discussions. And naturally, because who wants to lose money? That doesn't get you followers or likes, right? So don't talk about loss of money. Let's talk about that your desires would be fulfilled.
There's one aspect of desire fulfillment I'm really curious about. Is it really possible to wish up wealth or attract wealth by spending it?
Well, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. If it was so wonderful, I really do wish it were so wonderful. I would be buying a lot of expensive things and getting more. I mean, this is makes little sense, but I understand the idea is so seductive for somebody who is really suffering, because when desires don't get fulfilled, you suffer a lot. I mean, poverty is one aspect, but there are also other aspects. For example, if you have the fear of you have somebody who is sick in your family. You love this person. You desperately want this person to become well again. Or if you don't have a job or employment or livelihood, and then you're trying to wish something up like this, these ideas are very attractive. So, as I mentioned earlier, this is attractive for people who do not want to do the real work. So, if you do want to wish up wealth, you can come up with an idea. And when you start to execute that idea, then it's important that you don't be overwhelmed by the fears that will come, the fear of loss. Because when you start thinking of wealth, you want to attract it. What will come up is the fear of loss, the fear that this is not going to work, or the fear that whatever you have, you might also lose that because you're so busy trying to spend it, And what results is that this fear causes a lot of tension. There are two ways you can deal with that tension or that fear. One way is, and this is the easier way which people use, but not the right way, is they suppress the fear. That's not very therapeutic. They suppress the fear of loss. They suppress their fears and anxieties, and the ego gets stronger and stronger. The suppression causes serious chronic disease. Serious chronic disease. And then, of course, if you are not able to maintain that suppression, that strong will, that strong ego, then what happens is every now and then you, so to say, relax. It comes up, the fear comes up. And when the anxiety comes up, when the fear comes up, you get unpredictable, hysterical, emotional, moody. So such a person can become imbalanced. So the dangers are physical disease or even mental disease. And so, yes, It sounds like a delightful dream come true, spend money to attract money, but that is a dangerous way. The real way would be, yes, to keep your desire in mind, what you have, draw up a plan and see what you can do to fulfill it, and also learn to be content. You may not get 100% of what you have desired, but if you get 70%, it's okay. It's good enough.
Another aspect I hear from life coaches sometimes is the aspect of being generous. And generosity is considered by some of these modern life coaches as an excellent strategy to attract wealth. Can you comment on
There's
this?
no doubt that being generous is a wonderful thing. Donating money is a wonderful thing to the needy. And this is a practice which has been almost ritualized in many traditions. The idea was to donate 10% of your wealth, donate to the poor, do service. This is a very established and ancient instruction to develop selflessness, to develop compassion, empathy for those who have less. However, if it becomes a strategy to attract wealth, what you have is mixed karma. The samskaras are mixed. It is not truly selfless. It is not your way of expressing gratitude for what you have, but in fact, it is a strategy, which means you want something in return. If I donate money to somebody who's needy and if I expect something in return, that's not donation. It's possible I don't expect it from the person I gave it to, but I expect it from somewhere. And then that is, once again, a very subtle desire for wanting, leading to a sense of need, want, scarcity versus abundance. You feel abundance when you genuinely feel you have so much that you want to give. That becomes your nature. When it is your nature to serve, to give, you're not even thinking of receiving. That is when all things good and auspicious will come to you. When generosity is your nature, not when it is a strategy.
It's a wonderful advice and insight. Thanks for that. And looking also at religions who are also, of course, at some point have to deal with desires. Why was desire fulfillment frowned upon by religionists? And why were teachings on fulfillment encoded or restricted?
One of the reasons we already briefly touched upon, and that was the fact that it is dangerous when it is misunderstood. So I talked about ending up attracting the opposite. That is because of the nature of duality. And instead of wealth, you attract poverty, and instead of success, you attract failure, because that is the fear, and the fear manifests, right? So that is one reason. And another important reason is that an impure mind wishes up nonsense. When a mind is not coordinated, if you're not an apta, we talked about in our last session, if you're not an apta, and if your mind is not purified, by purifying is not a moral judgment, it's that you're not heavily colored all the time, you're not reacting, but you are an observer, you are able to respond in all your interactions, you have self-knowledge, you are aware of yourself and your own emotions and your own nature, then you can coordinate and you can wish up something that is useful and sustainable and also serve others in the process. But if your mind is impure, you're going to wish up nonsense. The popular tale, the Indian tale goes, the story of a man who uh, is walking in the countryside in the hot afternoon, and to take shelter from the blazing sun, he takes shelter under a tree. And because it's so hot and he's sitting under the tree, he wishes he had something to drink, like, a refreshing glass of water. And then suddenly a glass of water appears in front of him. And he's quite amazed and thinks, after he had his nice glass of water, wanted to rest because it was so hot and he was feeling almost a little bit weak and dizzy in the heat. I wish I had a nice, comfortable bed to lie on under this beautiful shade of the beautiful tree. And then suddenly a very comfortable bed appeared. And then this man realized, oh, I seem to be under a wish fulfilling tree. This is a Kalpataru, as the legend goes, a wish fulfilling tree. This was wonderful news. And so he wished himself up a beautiful meal, very luxurious, 12 courses. Then he wished himself up some dancing girls to entertain himself. And as he was having a wonderful time there in this very barren area under this tree in the middle of nowhere, suddenly fear started creeping in his mind. What will happen if other people discover this and they want to take away my tree from me? And what if suddenly from somewhere, a tiger jumps up and eats me up? And then immediately from somewhere in the bushes, a tiger sprang out and killed him. And so you see that the impure mind doesn't know how to deal even sometimes with good fortune and wealth, and ends up creating circumstances for oneself which are not very helpful, not very useful, not very positive. And that can also lead to others being harmed. You can also wish up things which are harmful to everybody else. So, this knowledge and how to use this in a systematic way, in a useful way, in a sustainable manner was kept secret, was restricted secret knowledge. And if you ask me, a lot of information is available today in the internet, on websites, in books. It's become a big money making industry now for coaches and desire manifestation. I believe that this is still a secret, not because the information is not available, because the secret is locked in your own unconscious mind. And until you do not acquire self knowledge, any attempts you make may be just hit and miss. You may get some, you may not get some. It is not sustainable, the approach, and it is not systematic. It is just a hit and miss approach. So until then, until we all know ourselves, this secret is perfectly well guarded.
Wonderful insight. Thank you so much, Radhikaji. I especially like the story at the end and what can happen if you really get what you desire. So I think we should be careful.
Be careful what you wish
desire
up.
for. And yes, otherwise the tiger will jump out of the bush.
Who's the tiger? Actually, the tiger is your own impure mind. It's very powerful and very dangerous.
Yeah. I have to admit, I had a little desire
Indeed.
which has been fulfilled. Yeah, that's actually, I always had this desire to read a book where I finally understand or get a really better glimpse on the Yoga Sutras. And I must say that I found it. The Yoga Sutras Illuminated that you mentioned and that you have written has really helped me to understand the Yoga Sutras. It was a deep desire of mine and has been fulfilled, so I can only recommend it to those sincere seekers who are out there and who wish to really understand this better. So we come to a conclusion of this next part of the session on desire fulfillment. Thanks to all of you for staying tuned, and I wish you also to encourage, if you have questions, which I'm sure you have, then put them down in the comments, and Radhika Ji will be more than happy to answer them for you. And looking forward to see you next time. Thank you, Radhika Ji.